MDI Prep Inspires by Dr. Anthony Sutton. Forward by Dr. Julianne Calloway. Forward. Once again, Dr. Anthony Sutton inspires young people headed for the health professions. The path is an arduous one in which the pre-medical and pre-dental student can find many obstacles. It takes academic acumen, it takes endurance, organization, and hard work. It takes fortitude, friends, and faith. And the wise student will use Dr. Sutton's offerings as valuable advice, inspiration to help make the journey successful. We all experience times in which the obstacle seems insurmountable. There might even be times when we wonder why we have chosen this path or wonder if we have what it takes to complete the journey. This book presents the students with words of support and wisdom from people who know the struggle, who have been down the same path. The encouragement contained in this book could make the difference between perseverance and giving up. In this new book, Stories from the Heart of His Current and Former Students, tells us of the stresses, their struggles, and ultimately their great success. In a ripple effect, one word from Dr. Sutton to each individual student carries compassion and confidence forward to so many patients, making so many lives better. Dr. Julianne Calloway, UT Health San Antonio, Long School of Medicine. Chapter 1, Falling from the Bottom. I thought long and hard before I shared this story, but the subject of this story, Denise, encouraged me to tell it. Denise came to MDI Prep course in 2009 and from the onset appeared to be one of the brightest and most intelligent students in our course. Each day she would be the first one in class and the last one to leave. One day after class, Denise asked to speak to me about a situation regarding her exam. Denise, married with 2 children, stated that her husband had no idea that she was preparing for medical school. In fact, she said that if he found out, he would be extremely angry. As she continued to share her concerns with me, I could see an obvious fear on her face. Something told me to probe a little deeper into why she was so afraid of telling her husband about this wonderful opportunity of going to medical school. Tell me a little bit more about your relationship with your husband, I said. Denise went on to say that he's a great man. He takes extremely good care of the family, but he is abusive. According to Denise, he was only abusive when she stepped outside of her role, that being of a homemaker, wife, and mother. Her husband felt that as his wife, Denise should not consider grand goals such as going back to school for a master's degree or, heaven forbid, a medical degree. Denise devised a plan. She told her husband that 3 days out of the week she was volunteering at a local food bank for a couple of hours. What Denise was actually doing was coming to the MDI Prep class to prepare for her MCAT exam. Allow me to give you some insight regarding the MCAT exam. A good score is 30 or above. A great score is 40, and the highest score is a 45. Denise was consistently scoring 32, 34 on her practice exams. We fast forward the story to 2 weeks before her actual exam, when she confided in me regarding the situation with her husband. She was not afraid of doing well on the exam because she knew she could score high. She was not afraid of becoming a physician because this had been her passion since the age of 12. However, she was afraid of the physical and mental abuse she might suffer when she told her husband she was going to medical school. This, for me, was a fork in the road I had never dealt with in regards to one of our students. My only advice at that moment was to give her the acronym PRESS. P-R-E-S-S. P, pray about it. R, release any fears. E, expect the best outcome. S, seek wise counsel. And S, see your journey through. This acronym PRESS was my way of telling her never give up and just to press on despite the major obstacles in her way. To press on despite the obvious pressures was my advice. Denise decided to go forward with her MCAT exam, yet on the day of the exam, she had a serious panic attack. She called me before she walked into the exam building. Her speech was at lightning speed, and she was rambling about many different things. I said, okay, calm down, Denise. If you don't want to take the test, don't. But if you want to pursue medicine, relax, go to one of the most peaceful places in your mind, and focus on that peace before you go into the exam. Denise took the exam and scored a 36, which is a very good score. As we began working on Denise's application to medical school, I advised her to contact the authorities if she felt her life was in danger if the situations became unbearable at home. She assured me she would. I asked how she would keep her medical school interviews a secret from her husband. She indicated that she had listed her sister's address on the medical school application. Well, 3 months later, Denise received her first interview to medical school. She was so excited. And the night before her interview, she laid out this blue business suit she was going to wear to her interview. In her excitement, Denise forgot to put away the interview letter that she mistakenly left on the floor next to her dresser. The next morning, Denise eagerly got up to prepare for her interview. Her husband, who usually leaves the home about 4 or 5 a.m., could be heard in the backyard. This is strange, thought Denise. He should be already headed for work, considering it's 6 a.m. What was odd was the smell of fire in the backyard. Denise went out to the back patio and saw her husband standing over a fire burning in an iron garbage can they usually kept in the back storage room. When she asked her husband what he was doing, he calmly replied, "Well, I'm out here burning this blue suit you were going to wear to your medical school interview today." With a bit of quick thinking, Denise said, "I'm glad you did that because I really didn't want to go. I just wanted to prove to myself that I could make it to medical school." Somehow, Denise must have convinced him that she was not going to go. Oddly enough, he left for work. Denise told me she was extremely shaken by this, but she remembered my acronym PRESS, P-R-E-S-S, and that's what Denise did. She pressed a pair of jeans she had in her drawer and put on a white blouse and a pair of tennis shoes. She went to her medical school interview just like that. When she signed into the orientation table, she was greeted by frowns and laughter. She could have turned around right then, but she didn't. She figured she had come this far, so there was no turning back now. She was scheduled to have 2 interviews, but before the first one could take place, the dean of admissions asked Denise to follow him to his office. The dean indicated that Denise was not properly dressed for an interview. At that moment, Denise said something to the dean that still blows my mind today. She said, "Sir, I have fallen from the bottom, and I don't plan to go until I reach my goal of getting accepted into this medical school." Denise explained the events that caused her improper appearance. This stern-faced dean suddenly adopted a friendly voice. He went on to interview Denise and counseled her other interviews. After leaving the interviews, Denise contacted her sister and moved her belongings and children away from her husband. Denise called me on a Friday morning before my golf game, screaming into the phone, "I'm going to medical school, Dr. Sutton. I'm going to medical school." I was speechless. And while I may not often shed a lot of tears, I must admit a few dropped for Denise's victory. What was the final outcome? Well, Denise graduated from her pediatric residency in 2016 and is currently now a pediatrician. Her message to MDI Prep students is to never give up and don't let anything stand in your way of doing something good and positive. End of chapter 1.